Welcome back to Uprising. I'm Sonali Kohatkar. You can now watch Uprising online at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/uprising with Sonali. Please do subscribe. Although the United States spends more money on its military than any other nation in the world, President Obama has deemed its budget to be insufficient. The president would like to increase the Pentagon's budget by $38 billion more than what is currently allowed under U.S. law. He's even asked Congress to remove the spending caps imposed by sequestration to boost the military budget to a whopping $534 billion for the fiscal year. This monumental sum would not include an additional $51 billion to maintain military operations in Iraq and Syria and the continued U.S. presence in Afghanistan. Much of the money is going to fund proxy wars around the globe. The U.S. is training and arming Sunni tribal groups in Iraq to fight ISIS and considering supplying weapons to the Ukrainian military against Russia. Drone strikes continue to take their toll in Yemen after a Yemeni al-Qaeda affiliate took responsibility for orchestrating the attacks which killed 17 people at the French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo. Also at work are double standards, apparently to most of the rest of the world. Western hypocrisy denounced the French massacre as an affront to the rights of free speech while simultaneously surveilling and suppressing the speech of its own citizens in the name of fighting terror. U.S. interests in Saudi Arabia were evident when Secretary of State John Kerry praised deceased King Abdullah, whose human rights record rivals that of ISIS, and meanwhile a jingoistic film called American Sniper, which glorifies killing and demonizes Muslims with virtually no historical context, has come close to breaking U.S. box office records. Joining me today to unravel U.S. policy is Chris Hedges. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter who's a regular columnist for Truthdig, also a senior fellow at the Nation Institute. He was a foreign correspondent with the New York Times for almost 2 decades. He's written a number of books, and his most recent is Days of Destruction, Days of Revolt with Joe Sacco. Welcome to Uprising, Chris.
Thank you, Sonali.
Now, so often for the American public, there is just no historical framework for understanding the role of U.S. imperialism in these various conflicts around the world. Do you think that this ignorance serves a very important purpose?
Yes, because if people understood the crimes of empire, how empire operates, they would be appalled. And I think for those of us, such as myself, who spent 20 years as a foreign correspondent on the outer reaches of empire and had to report on and witness the inner workings of empire, the frustration that we run into when we come back to the United States is that the mythology of who we are and what we're doing and how we act overrides the reality. And that has been especially true in the wars in the Middle East, which have unleashed, horrific acts of industrial violence, been perpetrated through torture, assassinations, gross abuse of human rights, the displacement of millions, the deaths of hundreds of thousands of innocents. And yet it's almost impossible because the narrative about how empire works and what empire is about is taken over by popular culture. You mentioned American Sniper, that would be a good example. And so, penetrating that mythology is extremely difficult. So yes, they want people not only to be kept in ignorance, but to believe the myth rather than the reality.